Welcome everyone back to the channel, and today we've got an extra special, extra movie length video for you. I've gone into my Filodex of the biggest names in the YouTube scene, all friends of the PommyInOz channel. We get on with them all. You've seen all of the guys and girls regularly in content on this channel, and we're going to be getting them to tip the competition's fixtures with some caveats. There is some dice rolls here. You've got away team bias. You've got vibes only. Pick against your own team. Pick shocks. Underdog rounds. Things like that. Because we wanted to try and replicate what happens in the AFL season. You tip the favourites, you're always going to be wrong at the end of the season. Did want to give a special shout out first to Cardman22. Make sure you go and give him some love. He does this video every year, just flat tips. I loved it. I wanted to add a bit of Pom stupidity on it. Make sure that you follow the links. Everyone who comes up has their at whatever their title is. So it would be like at PommyInOz. That means www.youtube.com/at whatever it is. It'll go to their channel. Make sure you give them some love. I will see you at the end of this video where I will be finishing off what they've done and I'll have my own caveats to go.
Right, Pom's given me opening round and round one, and my rule is vibes only. So gut feel, no real logic. Let's see what happens. I've got the games here. So Sydney Carlton, gut feel tells me Sydney by 24 points and Curnow to kick 5 against his old side. Gold Coast Geelong, gut feel for some reason, and it's annoying because I hate this team, but Geelong. I think Geelong by 1 goal away against the Suns in a surprise upset win there. Giants, Hawks. I'm going to go Giants and Hogan to be the difference, as he has been for many, many years. Brisbane Bulldogs. This is going to be another surprise. I'm going to go upset. I'm going to go Dogs against Brisbane at the Gabba. I think it's going to be an interesting ride for the Dogs in Brisbane next year, but I think the Dogs in this one. And then the big one, this is a proper vibe, this game. St Kilda Collingwood at the MCG. Big crowd. And obviously I'm tipping St Kilda by 30 points. All the new recruits, all the new faces are going to hit the ground running. It's going to be exciting for the footy club. And then we've got round one, Carlton Richmond. Got to be careful here because I know Pom and Terry are watching. Carlton by 2 points in an absolute blockbuster game. Game of the round, that one. Essendon Hawthorn. Essendon Hawthorn. I'm going to go Hawthorn by 39 points in that. Zach Merritt game. We all know the build-up, but I think Hawthorn's class. Bulldogs Giants. I'm going to go Giants. I don't know why, but there you go. That's my gut feel. Geelong Fremantle at Geelong. I'm going Geelong. Geelong to beat Fremantle in Geelong for the first time in a while, I think it is. Dockers tend to have a good record there. Sydney Brisbane. I'm going Sydney again. I think Brisbane are going to start the year 0-2. That is my long shot prediction. 0-2 for the reigning champs. Collingwood Adelaide at the MCG. Adelaide comfortably, 45 points. They've had close games at the MCG recently, and my gut feel is this time it's not going to be so close. North Melbourne Port, bookmark it. North Melbourne win the game. They beat Port Adelaide, and they beat them by 4 goals at Marvel in front of a modest crowd on Sunday afternoon. And then you've got Melbourne St Kilda at the MCG. St Kilda are going to go 2-0, and we're going to win that game. It's going to be sad seeing Jack Steele in those colours, but we'll win that game by, I'm going to go 31 points. And then Gold Coast Eagles. I know this is vibes only, Pom, but I'm not stupid. I'm not tipping the Eagles. I'm going to go Suns by 67 points. Those are my tips. Let's see what happens.
G'day, Pommy. LekDog here. Round 2 is what I rolled for your video compilation tipping thingamabomb, and we'll just go through it, shall we? The first game. Hawthorn take on Sydney at home at the MCG on a Thursday night. And my gut feel says Sydney start off the season strong. Charlie Curnow returns to the G, kicks a bag. Sydney defeat Hawthorn. We'll call it by 19 points. Friday night, we have Adelaide Crows hosting the Western Bulldogs, and I think people are a little bit down on the Dogs this year, but I'm going to tip them here. I know all the hype will be with Adelaide, particularly at home, but I just think Bont, he's doing the Clash of the Titans, or whatever the hell they call it, the state v state thing. Injured last year, but when he came back was dominant. I think Tim English is set for a really, really good year by his standards, and I just think the Western Bulldogs are going to get it done in Adelaide. It's a tough one, but that's the tip. Saturday, Richmond hosts the Suns. I don't think we need to stuff around and hyperbolise too much about what will happen here. I think in the Hardwick Bowl, the Suns will dominate the Tigers. Follow that with GWS hosting St Kilda at NG Stadium. I think the home team gets it done here. I know St Kilda will have all the big recruits. You've got Flanders and TDK and Sauce and whoever the hell else, Liam Ryan. I really like what they did in the off-season in theory, but in practice, what does it look like? I think by round 2 we'll still be working that out. And GWS, they're a good outfit. They're a good team. They're going to be largely unchanged from what they were doing last year. So they'll get that win at home. Over at Optus, Fremantle host Melbourne. Judd McVie will be playing against his old team. Luke Jackson will be playing against his old team. And his old team is going to get it done despite what Max Gawn and co might try and do. Jack Steele in there in the midfield. This one's Freo's to lose. Then Sunday's games, we look at Port Adelaide hosting Essendon in the Adelaide Oval. Geez, this is going to be a rough game for fans. It's buried at 3:15 on a Sunday. Honestly, both teams might lose this one. I'm really hesitant to tip anyone here. Essendon, Port are bad. Essendon are bad. We will go with the home team because I don't know how to choose. To be honest with you, if Nick Bryan is flying like I think he will, Essendon might dominate in the ruck there. But no, we'll go with Port Adelaide. It's Port Adelaide, Rosie, Butters. They get it done just about on their own. And then finishing out the round in another. To be honest with you, I was going to say bottom dwelling Clash of the Titans. West Coast host North Melbourne, but I think this might actually be a pretty good game. I think both of these teams might play some exciting football this year, and it's really, really tough to tip. On one hand, West Coast at home, they showed some signs later in the season last year. I think it's a good year for your Tim Kellys and your players like that. Brought in a couple of guys in the off-season who have played AFL level football before. But North, is this the year that they make the leap that they want? They've got a good team. They've got a good team for the most part. The key defence is still the issue. But I don't think the key forwards at West Coast are getting the job done here. So I will tip North. Now the wild card I've been given is to reverse one of my tips. So I'm going to go all the way back up to the Friday night game where I said the Doggies can go over to Adelaide to win. Well, I still think that's true. I think of all the other teams where, you could realistically flip, I think Adelaide at home at Friday is the most appetizing selection. So I will flip that one, even though I think the Bulldogs are going to win.
Hey guys, it's your boy Joe from the Centre Bounce. Thank you so much, Pommy, for having me on. These are my tips for round 3. I'm going to go in this game between the Cats and the Prom. I'm going to go with the Cats to win this one at home by 14 points. They are just too damn good at home. They only have 2 losses per year, and those tend to be against Fremantle and the Giants. So Adelaide, unfortunately, will not get the job done. Friday night football between the Pies and the Giants at Marvel Stadium. I'm going to go out on the limb and maybe say that this is going to be the Giants to pinch this one by 2 points. I think one of those great modern day rivalries. I think the Giants might just have too much firepower this time around for the aging Pies. Then Saturday afternoon, Saints and the Lions at Marvel Stadium. Look, I'm going to go with the Lions by 20 here. Not because St Kilda are no good. I just think still, come round 3, they're still trying to work things out. Meanwhile, the Lions, they're just absolutely stacked. So the Lions, for me, 4-15 between the Dockers and the Tigers. I'm actually going to go the wrong one. I'm going to go the Dockers by 27 points. I think a nice 5-goal win for the Dockers. If they're fair dinkum about their chances this year, they really should be winning this and winning this game comfortably. No disrespect to the Tigers, a very young team. Then my boys, the Bombrays, up against North Melbourne. I've sort of already revealed that. I'm going to tip my boys by 9 points. It's going to be a close one. They tend to be a lot of the times between us and North Melbourne. We're never ruthless or good enough to really put it on the scoreboard. And I do think that hopefully this time around we won't have as many injuries and can still continue to extend our winning streak against the Kangaroos. Sunday afternoon between Port and the Eagles. I'm going to go, of course, Port Adelaide by 35 points at home against the Eagles, who are well and truly in a massive, massive rebuild. Port with a new coach in Carr. Surely they're at home, they get the job done. And in the last game of the round between the Blues and Melbourne, I'm not going to go the Blues to lose. I'm going to say the Blues, they will win this game. I'm tipping the Blues by 7 points. I think the trades that they've made, the acquisitions, all great culturally as well as giving you a bit more cohesion across the ground. Melbourne, in a little bit of a retinkering phase at the moment, trying to give some more responsibility to the kids. Now, which game am I going to flip? You know what? I am going to be flipping the Port Adelaide and Eagles game because I was just trying to think, when was the last time the Eagles beat Port at home? I had to go on and ask AI because it was all just a bit too hard for me to research. The Eagles last defeated Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval August 11, 2018. It is a very long time ago. I don't really have any skin in the game in any of the other games that we've got at the moment. I've already tipped the Giants, and I really want the Giants to win because stuff Collingwood, being an Essendon supporter. I could have tipped Melbourne, but you know what? I don't really hate Carlton at this point in time, given both of our irrelevance in recent times. I'm going to go with the Eagles. A lot of people like to sink the boot into them. I reckon they're not so bad. Come on, Eagles. Please, please prove me right.
Pommy, hopefully going well, mate. Thanks very much for getting me on. Going to be tipping round 4 of the 2026 season, as you have given me. So by round 4, we'll at least know how teams have started off the season. Will some teams start off like a house on fire, while other teams have injuries and be hard to tip or be really low on form? We have to wait and see, really. So it's difficult to really tip these on the stroke of the season. So first game of round 4, it's the Easter round of football. We have Brisbane taking on the Pies at the Gabba Thursday night footy. Prelim final rematch, of course. I'm expecting Brisbane to be one of the competing teams to the flag once again in 2026. The juggernaut of the competition with a quality list and a bountiful amount of youth coming through as well. The Pies, I do feel they can be around the mark as well. Similar to 2025, feels like a lot has to go right for them with the ageing list they do have, and they probably need a lot more of this unproven youth to come through and make their mark. I'll lean towards Brisbane in this one. I expect them to be the favourites, and once again, a pretty tough team for the most part to play at home. We'll go Brisbane in a close one here by 2 goals. Good Friday game, North Melbourne versus Carlton. Feels like every year Carlton do beat North convincingly in this game, but surely maybe could the tables turn? North did get a big win over a depleted Carlton side last year, and could the Kangas start off the season like a house on fire with maybe picking up some wins early in the season and playing with some real gumption and momentum? But the Blues do have a pretty good record over North Melbourne, and I think this one will be a bit of a scrappy game, but Carlton, for their midfield to be too strong, I reckon, in this one, and we'll lean towards them in a pretty good hit up by, we'll go 14 points. Adelaide versus Fremantle, 2 finalists I expect to be in 2026, excuse me, I was about to say 2025. These are sort of the games where I'll probably just lean towards the home team, at least for now. So I'll go Adelaide in this one by, a close game, 9 points. Saturday games, Richmond versus Port Adelaide. Do the Tigers, similar to 2025, start off the season really well with some energetic footy and maybe just fade away with the young list and tire out with the young list they do possess. But Port, I expect them to be a riser in 2026. They got killed with injury, and I think away from home they should get the job done against the Tigers. Here will go them by 19 points. West Coast versus Sydney. The Eagles, expect them to be a much better team, much better than a one-win side, you'd think. They'll give the Swans a real good up go, but I expect Sydney to be too classy, especially the second half does get on, and win this one by around 35 points. The D's against the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast have proven in 2025 that they can play well away from home for the most part, and I think they'll be too strong here for the D's and make it back-to-back years of beating Melbourne convincingly at the G, where Gold Coast in this one by 38. The Dogs versus Essendon. Essendon, surely they do improve with at least a lot more of a fitter list, but the Dogs, I think, will have too much firepower in this game, and we'll go them by a convincing margin of 42 points. And Easter Monday, this should be a beauty. Hawthorn versus the Cats. I'm expecting Hawthorn to take a big rise in 2026. They are progressively growing really well as a side. I like to view their 2025 season as a bit of that launchpad year. Some really good finals experience gain. I expect the Cats to still be up there. Complete team they do possess. One of the most well-balanced, most efficient teams in the league, no doubt. Could go either way. I think I'll go the Hawks in a close one here by 5 points.
Hey Pom, g'day viewers. Andreas here from Black and White United, and these are my tips for round 5, gather round. First game, Adelaide, Carlton. Carlton win by 4 points after the siren. Massive game. Collingwood versus Fremantle. Collingwood are going to go 4 from 4 on gather round. They're going to prove to the competition that there's still a chance to contend for this season. I've got the Pies winning that one by 17 points. North Melbourne versus Brisbane. Brisbane just go absolutely nuts on North, and they win by 85 points down at Barossa Park. Essendon versus Melbourne. I've got Melbourne winning this one here. It's going to be close the whole game. Last quarter, they pull away, show a little bit of class, and I think they're going to win that one there by about, I'll say 10 points. Sydney versus Gold Coast. I'm picking Gold Coast in this game. I reckon Gold Coast are going to stamp their authority on the competition in this game. They're going to say, shut the gates. We're here to win the whole thing, not just this game. I've got Gold Coast beating Sydney by 30 points in this one. Hawthorn, Bulldogs. This is the game of gather round. This is the epic battle. These are the two gladiator sides that are going to be contending for 2026. And I'm going to hate to say it, I reckon I got Hawthorn winning this one in a nail biter. I'm talking like 1 point. I just think the Dogs' backline's not going to stack up against them. Geelong, West Coast, something in me is telling me this is the upset of the season. I got West Coast winning this game by 3 points. Giants, Richmond, the Young Cubs, I just think that they've just got too much to play for. I think GWS are going to go in this game way too cocky. And I've got Richmond winning this one by about 15 points. It's going to be a wild round. And then to finish off gather round, St Kilda are going to go to Adelaide Oval. They're going to play against Port Adelaide. They're going to shush the crowd. It's going to be an epic. But St Kilda are going to have this from the start. I've got the Saints by 66 points. And as always, go the Pies.
Hello everybody, it's Marnie here from Kanga TV, bringing you my predictions for round 6, 2026, along with a few underdogs who may surprise us in this round. To kick it off, Collingwood over Carlton by 10 points. I know that I've tipped Collingwood, but I do think Carlton will bring their A game. They always do when these two clubs meet, so I think this game could be a lot more fiery and a lot closer than we expect. I've got Geelong over the Bulldogs by 24 points. I do really rate the Bulldogs list, and I think they're the hardest team in the competition to really measure and judge. I feel like they should be better than what they are, and sometimes they do like to surprise us. I think they'll take it up to Geelong, but Geelong at GMHBA are always a little bit too strong. I've got the Swans over GWS by just 3 points. I think these games are really, really difficult to tip as well, and this was the game I had the hardest time deciding and tipping. I think the Swans are going to have a really big year in 2026. I think they've had a year to settle under Coxie and under a new game plan, a new voice after, 15 years with Horse in charge. I do really think that the Giants are a strong outfit, and I do expect them to come out once again in 2026 and really be one of those contending top 6 to 8 sides. But I also think the Swans will be in the mix next year as well, or this year, I should say, as well. And I definitely expect them to bring their absolute absolute best at home at the SCG. I've got them narrowly over the Giants. I've got the Suns over Essendon by 36 points. I don't think that we can tip against the Suns at home. We really saw them solidify themselves as a genuine team in the competition in 2025, and I expect them to get better in 2026 with the additions of Petrarca and Jamara Ugle-Hagan. So I think they should get the job done pretty easily over Essendon. My biggest underdog of the round is Port Adelaide over Hawthorn. Port Adelaide is such a strange team. I feel like when there is a game, they're expected to win, and I feel like they're expected to perform, and it's something they should just get the job done. They usually fall over, but in games where there doesn't seem to be a lot of expectation or pressure on them, they deliver and they outshine what we thought they would do. They did it against Hawthorn in Gather Round in 2025. I expect them to do it again in 2026. So they're my biggest underdogs and my biggest, wildest tip for round 6 in 2026. The rest, I think, are pretty stock standard. I've got the Crows at home over St Kilda by 30 points. I've got North, obviously, over Richmond at Marvel Stadium on the Sunday by 21 points. I've got the Lions over the D's at the MCG by 12 points. I think this one will be a little bit closer than maybe we would expect, given the two teams at hand and at play here, but I do think the Lions will get the job done narrowly, and I think Fremantle will be convincing over the West Coast Eagles in the Derby. I've got them down by 9 goals.
G'day legends, Deebs here from True Bloods. Now I've been given the round 7 tips from Pommy. I've been told to choose 3 underdogs, so let's get cracking. We start off round 7 strong with the Doggies versus my boys, the Swannies. Now, by this stage, I think we will probably be premiership favourites. We don't lose a game this year, but the Dogs, they're littered with talent, pardon the pun. But I think the Swannies get this done. Kerner will be on fire by this stage, and I'm not sure if the Swans will lose a game all year, so going with my boys, the Swannies. On Friday night, we have the Tigers versus Melbourne. Now, this is one of my underdogs. I think the young talent of the Tigers can come through here and knock off the Ds. We know their fans don't rock up to the MCG, and the Tigers always do in their droves, so they'll have the home support. They've got great young talent. The Tigers is one of my underdogs. Saturday afternoon footy down in Tasmania. You got the Hawks and the absolutely loaded up with talent Gold Coast Suns. They got your Petrarcas. They've got your Brownlow medalists in Matty Rowell. I think they probably win down there. They're going to be hard to beat this year, and I think they'll probably go in favourites, depending on how everything is shaping up at this stage. But the Gold Coast to win. The Anzac Day clash, the Dons versus Collingwood. Here is another one of my underdogs. I would love the Dons to knock off the Pies here. I think we all enjoy when the Pies get rolled. But, you know, this day always presents a really entertaining game, and I think the Dons always tend to rock up and can get over the Pies. Port Adelaide and the Cats Saturday night clash over at the Adelaide Oval. I think the Cats go over there and they get it done. They're ultra consistent, but how are they going to be this year with the older list? I'm not too sure, but I think Port may struggle with the new coach and everything like that. It can take some time to iron out the kinks, so the Catters for mine. Freo and Carlton round out the Anzac Day clashes over in Freo, and I think this is another upset. This is another underdog. I think the Blue Baggers can go over to Perth and get the job done. I don't subscribe to this hype on the Fremantle Footy Club. A lot of people predict them to go well this year. I'm not of that belief. The Baggers go over and get it done. Classic Sunday footy here with the Saints and West Coast. I think that we see the Saints just get it done. West Coast will probably struggle again this year, but you'd love to see some improvement. But the Saints, with their recruits in the off-season, I think they can get it done in at Marvel Stadium. The Lions and the Crows up in Brisbane. The minor premiers from last year, the Crows, are they going to be able to put it all together coming off a straight sets exit against the premiers? I don't think so. They're ultimately really hard to beat up in Brisbane, so the Lions get it done. Another classic Sunday game. We've got the Giants and North Melbourne. Now, I think the Giants just get this done. Are North going to improve this year? Look, part of me really wants them to, but I'm not sure whether they do. But I think the Giants get this one done convincingly up in Sydney. And that rounds out the round 7 tips. Best of luck to your team this year. Shout out to Pommy. Love your work, brother. And there's beers out there for us soon. Up the Bloods.
Team Pommy, how you going? It's Anthony from Pies Footy. I've got round 8, and with the wild card that I've been dealt with by Pommy, it's to go against my judgment in one of the games, which works out really well. But we will get to that in a moment. So I've got Thursday night, Collingwood versus Hawthorn at the G. And this could be a game where maybe we don't see the back of Will Day, fortunately enough, or unfortunate for the Hawks, of course. Hawthorn, for as long as I can remember, have it over the Pies. They've been our bogey team for the longest time, and I was a 97 born for those who are curious. So for as long as I can remember, they've been the team that I just never have a good feeling about. As a Collingwood fan, there's been this arrogance or confidence, we'll call it, that when we come up against most teams, we think we're a chance. Hawthorn, where I might think we're 70-30 against a lot of teams, it's always 40-60 in Hawthorn's favour, sometimes 30-70. I give ourselves a 30% chance against Hawthorn in most cases, regardless of ladder position, by the way. So that's that. Doggies versus Freo at Marvel on a Friday night. That's going to be an absolute barn burner. It's a crazy clash, actually. Be curious to know where both these teams are at this point. I'm going to go for Fremantle. If I ever had a second team, it would be Fremantle. I don't know why. I think I fell in love with Nathan Fyfe at Fremantle, so that's probably where it comes from. And I've always liked their jersey. And against contrary to popular belief, I like their theme song. Anyhow, we move. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. The interesting time clash, 7:30 and 8:10 on the same night, Friday night. I'm going to go the Crows. Essendon versus the Lions at Marvel. Have to go Brisbane. West Coast versus Richmond at Optus Stadium. That's an interesting clash. I'm going to go with West Coast. Just off the back, the fact that it's in Perth. Geelong versus North Melbourne. Geelong at GMHBA. It's a fortress. Carlton versus St Kilda. That's always a massive, highly anticipated game between the two. And I'm going to go St Kilda. Sorry, Pommy fans. I do apologise. And then to round it out, we are here on a Sunday. Sydney versus the D's at the SCG. I think, look, I don't know what Sydney's run into this fixture is, but I could only imagine that they could be undefeated at this point. Like the way they finished off last season. It reminds me of how Collingwood finished off 2024 and was able to carry that form into 2025. And lastly, this is a great round. I'm happy with this. Gold Coast versus GWS at People First Stadium. You just have to go Gold Coast with Petrarca. Like, Gold Coast bring Petrarca in and GWS bring in Clayton Oliver. And some of you might be saying, oh, well, the Pies wanted Oliver. But look, for the sake of the narrative of my justification here, I just have to go Gold Coast, right? The fixture that I'm going to reverse, go against my judgment, it's the first game. I genuinely, hand on heart, think Hawthorn will beat us in this game, regardless what team we put out there, regardless of what team they put out there. And for that reason, I'm going to use my wild card on that and give the result back in Collingwood's way. Appreciate you guys. Go Pies.
Hey guys, Ben here from the Hoops crew. I'm here to preview round 9, which I'm calling the unofficial grand final rivalry round. The first game is Fremantle versus Hawthorn, and these two teams played in a grand final in 2013. Hawthorn got up on that day, but this one I think is going to go Fremantle's way by 10 points, and the reason? Fuck Hawthorn. That's why. You don't need much better reason than that. I think this will be Hawthorn's 5th straight loss, and the Jungle Drums will be beating for Sam Mitchell. Next one's Brisbane versus Carlton. Yes, they have played in grand finals before, but Brisbane were known as Fitzroy back in the day. The last time they played was 1916, when Fitzroy was last on the ladder after the home and away. 4 teams played that year because of the war that was going on. I think the Lions will win this one by 67 points, though. The juggernaut will continue to roll on. Port Adelaide versus the Bulldogs, Adelaide Oval. No grand finals between these two teams, but Tinder ambassador Bailey Smith went nuts with 4 goals and 23 odd touches in a prelim a few years back. The winner for this one will be the Dogs, an interstate win for the Dogs here, 42 points. I think the Doggies will make a case as one of the better teams in 2026 and a real challenger to the Brisbane throne. North Melbourne versus Sydney grand final way back in 1996, 30 years ago. It was North on that day. This round I'm tipping Sydney by 8 points. I feel like it's one of those North Melbourne-y performances where they'll look like they're gonna win it, and then they'll choke harder than King Joffrey after a dodgy glass of wine. So, yes, Sydney for me in this one. All right, GWS versus Essendon. This one's at NG Stadium. Does anyone give a shit, though? Really? No, we don't give a shit. This one will be over and done before you know it. A GWS by 30 points. They might be down at halftime, but they'll come storming back, and Essendon will continue to have another shit season. Gold Coast versus St Kilda, another one that's wake me up when it's over. This one's in Darwin at TO Stadium. No one really cares about either of these teams. I think, and neither of these teams have played in a grand final either, obviously. But yes, I think Gold Coast will win this one by about 28 points. I just think St Kilda's a bit of a nothing side, really. A bit of a middling team, if you will, and won't really go anywhere this year or the year after, or really ever. Geelong versus Collingwood. This is the one you want to know about, the Geelong versus Collingwood game. These two teams have played in 6 grand finals previously. I'm tipping Geelong to win this one by 3 points. I think this could be one where Jack Crisp has another chance at redemption. Here we go, another shot after the siren. Make it this time, Jack. Nah, he screws it again. He absolutely screws it again. And Geelong somehow at the end of the round is back in the top 4. And doesn't the AFL world love that? Oh, it's going to be so good. Melbourne versus West Coast, Marvel Stadium. No grand final matchups here. Have a bit of a sleep on a Sunday afternoon and maybe wake up in the last quarter, though, because I think West Coast is going to pinch this by a point. The AFL commentators will tell you it's the best game all year, but the true footy fans will know this was an absolute rubbish game, the worst game they've ever seen in their life. If not for the close margin, no one would be even talking about it. Absolutely diabolical. The last game is Richmond versus Adelaide. I'm tipping another upset here. These two, I'll get to this in a minute, but Richmond and Adelaide met in 2017. Adelaide, of course, was doing the power stance back in the day, and haven't things gone wonderfully for them since. And Richmond, a little bit better. They won a couple other grand finals and all that, but they're back to being shit again. I'm tipping Richmond to win this one by 5 points. The 10,000 Richmond faithful will absolutely love it. They'll be rejoicing after playing their best game of the year. That's it for me. Thanks, Pom. Thanks, everyone else, and go Cats.
Hello, this is Scott from the Lunchtime Catch-Up podcast. I'm being asked by Pommy to do my round 10 tips on my vibes of what I think is going to happen, even though it's January 2026. So here's my tips for round 10. We start off with Brisbane and Geelong at the Gabba. I'm going to stick with the Premiers here at home. In a very, very tight contest. This could go either way, but I'll go with the Lions by 7 points. We have the Swans and the Pies at the SCG on the Friday night. I think Sydney will be much stronger this year, so I'm going to go with the Sydney Swans. I think, hopefully I'm right, but I think the Pies will struggle a little bit more this year. And maybe kicking enough goals. So I'm going to go with Sydney by 14 points, though Collingwood is a very good interstate travelling team. So that has me concerned a little bit. Also, Gold Coast and Port Adelaide play up in the Northern Territory. I'll go with the Suns here. I think they're going to be a strong team in 2026. Port Adelaide may struggle this year a bit. The Suns, who know the conditions, that hotter conditions pretty well. I think they'll comfortably win this by 28 points. Adelaide then play North Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. I think Adelaide will win this quite comfortably. I'll go Adelaide by 36 points. Melbourne play Hawthorn. This is at the MCG. Should be a fairly good game. I think the Hawks at the G. I know Melbourne's pretty good at the G as well. Obviously, they're both their home grounds. Hawthorn obviously expected to have a good year. I think the Hawks may just have a bit too many weapons here for the Demons, but expect a good fight from the Demons. So I'll go Hawthorn in a tight contest by 11 points. Carlton and West Coast. This is at Marvel Stadium. Both play the ground not too bad. Western Bulldogs obviously pretty elite there with their foot skills. Carlton, a bit of an unknown for me this year, so I'm trying to work out where they're going to go. I think just Western Bulldogs may have too many guns here if they're pretty healthy. So I'm going to go the Western Bulldogs in a tight contest by 9 points. Essendon Fremantle. Now, obviously, everyone can see that I'm an Essendon fan. Interesting one because this is at the MCG, which Fremantle have never beaten Essendon at the MCG. So I'm going to go with a bias upset here and say that trend will continue. I think Fremantle's going to be a very good team this year. Just not sure how they'll handle the MCG. Can they play the MCG still? A lot will depend on Essendon being healthy. But I think Essendon will be a pretty tough team to beat, though I've still got them sort of bottom 7 kind of side for 2026. I think they're actually going to be a lot harder than people expect if, and that's a big if they're quite healthy. So I'll go Essendon by 1 point here in another classic. I think they won by 1 point in 2024 against Fremantle at the G as well. So I'll go for another classic. St Kilda and Richmond, that's at Marvel Stadium. Tigers will be a much stronger team, but the Saints have obviously brought on a lot of good players. I think the Saints probably just will have the discipline and game plan enough and defensive game plan to just overcome Richmond. I expect Richmond to have a really big fight here. So I'm going to go the Saints by 12 points. West Coast and the Giants at Optus Stadium. So I think West Coast will be a better team, but I've got the Giants winning this in a very close one by 7 points. So I hope I get my tips right. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pommy, for allowing me to come on, and all the best. Go Footy.
All right, this is Swoop Luke, and I have got round 11 to tip. Now, it starts off Thursday, May 21st, Hawthorn versus the Adelaide Crows in Launceston. All right, so it's going to be interesting weather in the middle of May, but God, this is a hard one to tip. So far away from it, right? Hawthorn. Let's go Hawthorn. I like what the Hawks are sort of building, and I think Adelaide really overperformed last year. Of course, I'm filming this in January, so I'm probably going to eat my words with most of these. Next is we got a double header on Friday because, of course, why would the AFL put only one game on a Friday night when you can put 2 on a Friday night? Richmond and Essendon. We're going to go with Richmond. Absolutely, we're going to go with Richmond on a big Friday night blockbuster. The next game is Fremantle and St Kilda. At this point, this early on, at Optus Stadium, I can't see the Saints going over there and beating the Dockers. So we've got the Dockers on that one. North Melbourne, Gold Coast. Gold Coast should easily pound North into the ground, unfortunately for North. But I've got the Suns winning there. Geelong, Sydney Swans. This is actually going to be a real... I love a Geelong-Sydney matchup, except for that grand final. God, that grand final. I've got Geelong here. This is at GMHBA Stadium, so that's no problem there. Collingwood, Eagles. Woo, my boys. Now, I reckon, I've got a sneaky suspicion that this will be when Pendles breaks the all-time playing record. It's going to pack out the MCG. We haven't played the Eagles at the MCG since COVID years. So I've got the Pies smashing the Eagles. But again, the Eagles could do anything. But I've got the Pies smashing the Eagles. Port Adelaide, Carlton at Adelaide. Port Adelaide here. Port Adelaide are going to beat Carlton here. Then the final two games for this round. The Giants and the Lions at Angers Stadium. Are the Lions even going to lose much this year? I don't think so. I got the Lions over the Giants. And to round out round 11 and my tips, Western Bulldogs and Melbourne. Another really good matchup. Marvel Stadium. I've got the Doggies here and Darcy kicking 6 goals.
Hey, Mr. Pommy, and g'day, Mr. Pommy viewers. How are you guys going? Let's tip some games of footy. We've got round 12. We're going to kick it off with St Kilda and Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium. Now, the fact it's at Marvel makes it a bit more interesting. It probably brings the Saints into the game a little bit more, you would expect. But I'm still going to tip the Hawks. Hawthorn are predictable. You know, the teams they're going to beat. They're probably not quite on the level of the teams above them. I think they should be beating St Kilda, which means they will be beating St Kilda. I'm going to tip them by 24 points in a bit of a low-scoring affair. Carlton, Geelong at the MCG. Always a bit of a goofy goober game. I think the Blues have won the last 2 or 3 against the Cats, but I'm not going to predict that because I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to tip the Cats to win this one pretty comfortably. I just think with no Charlie Curnow, the small forward stock's depleted. Geelong's defence is so good. You got to back the Cats to win this one by 32 points. Now, Sydney, Richmond at the SCG is a brutal task for the young Tigers. I think this is a blowout. I think Sydney are going to be very good in 2026, and this should be a bit of a percentage booster for them. I'm tipping the Swans by 65 points. Brisbane Freo, nothing blowouty about this. This is going to be a really tight game of footy. I love this matchup. I think both these teams are really strong. You've got the Lockie Neal narrative as well, what's happening there. At the Gabba, I'm always going to tip the Lions, no matter who it's against. I'm tipping them, but not by much. By 6 points, Brisbane win by. Bulldogs, Collingwood at Marvel, tough game. Both these teams probably should be in contention for the top 10 at this stage of the year. I'm going to tip the Dogs. I just think they're the better team. I think Collingwood they've got an average age of about 65 against a younger Bulldogs outfit. Bulldogs win by 20 points. Sam Darcy kicks 7 goals. Melbourne GWS at Alice Springs, Traeger Park. Always a funky ground. There's some weird results there. Let's say GWS by 39 points. I think they win against the Demons fairly comfortably. But guys, we're building up to the best game of the round, best game of the year potentially. This is beautiful footy, and really, it doesn't matter who wins. The real winner is footy when West Coast and Essendon play. This is going to be end-to-end majestic footy to watch. I'm going to tip the Bombers to win by 5 points. We never seem to beat the Eagles comfortably. But guys, that is round 12. Thank you, Pommy. Thank you, viewers. Go Bombers.
It's Tori and Hannah from the Besties, and we will be tipping round 13.
Let's do it. So we start off the round with Adelaide versus Geelong Cats. Give me your thoughts.
It's in Adelaide.
It is.
So I'm going to tip Adelaide. They went pretty far in finals. Obviously, it's a far way into the season, but I'm going to stick with Adelaide at home. It's pretty strong.
I agree. Adelaide for both of us. Next round, we have Hawthorn versus the Bulldogs at the MCG.
It's hard to know. Like, tipping in advance, it's hard to know.
Let's go to the Bulldogs.
You think?
Yeah. No will they know. Or he might be back for then.
We're far off round 13.
We're gonna go with the Bulldogs. Yeah. Well, I am anyway, personally.
Yeah, we'll go with the Bulldogs.
Great. Fremantle versus North Melbourne. Sorry, North Melbourne versus Fremantle, I should say, at Hands Oval.
I think that's in Tassie.
Okay.
I'm gonna go North.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. I agree. Let's go North.
Something different.
We have the Gold Coast Suns versus the Brisbane Lions. What do they call this?
The
Q Clash?
Yeah, Q Clash, and I'm going the Suns.
Me too, go the Suns. We have the West Coast Eagles versus the Port Adelaide.
I'm gonna go Port.
Oh, really? It's in Perth.
Yeah, I still don't think West Coast are there.
I think West Coast are gonna win this one, just for something different.
All right.
Oh, this is my worst nightmare. We have the Sydney Swans versus St Kilda.
The Carlton
rejects.
Not rejects.
No, the rejects.
Say the traitors, if you wish.
The Carlton rejects game. Charlie Curnow won't be playing this game, and then Sydney are gonna win. That's my tip.
Because Charlie's not playing?
No, just because I don't want Charlie to win. So he's gonna be laid out this game, and Sydney are gonna win.
I'm also gonna tip Sydney.
Okay, great. Essendon versus Carlton. Carlton by 2,000 points.
Carlton will win.
Yeah.
We love that clash.
Yeah. We have, I think this is the Big Freeze.
Yeah, the King's birthday clash. And I am going to go...
Be careful here.
Melbourne.
Yeah, me too, Melbourne. Yep.
All right, that's round 13 tips.
Let's go.
G'day guys, Drewzy here for your boy PommyInOz, and I'm tipping round 14, which is a bye round. So the first game of the round kicking us off is the Dogs versus the Crows at Marvel. My theme is vibes only. I feel like the Dogs, they're not going to be too much different to last year. They're just going to be an offensive machine. And I'm not sure with the vibes on Adelaide, just because their brand didn't really stack up in finals. So based on the vibes, I feel like the Dogs at Marvel are just going to be too strong. That was the Thursday night game. The Friday night game is the Cats taking on the Gold Coast Suns down at GMHBA. Gold Coast have to be the vibiest team in the competition right now, having won their first final against my mob last year. They are one of the most exciting teams heading into 2026. A stacked midfield, so many youngsters. They add Petrarca, they add Jamari Ugle-Hagan. That's just vibes all around. The Suns up at the Gold Coast are looking bright, and I think just based on vibes and probably the fact that their midfield is a lot better than Geelong's in my opinion, especially on the inside with how they spread, I want to back the Gold Coast Suns to get the win away at GMHBA. On Saturday, the Melbourne Demons take on Essendon at the MCG. I don't really know how Melbourne are going to look in 2026, given that their midfield is completely revamped and they have a new coach at the helm. Compared to Essendon, who were just so injured last year, it's hard to tell where they're really at if they can keep their team on the park. If they are fit, I think they will beat Melbourne at the MCG. Clash of the Titans over at Optus as North host West Coast in an away game. They've been selling their games to WA for a bit of coin, the Roo boys, and you can't blame them because it's an elite place to play footy. Taking on the Eagles, this game last year down at Bunbury was probably the worst display of AFL football I've ever seen. However, West Coast probably deserved to win that day. They couldn't finish, I think. They kicked something like 2 goals in 19, something absolutely ridiculous down at Bunbury that day. So I think they can compete with North. And I'm going to back the Eagles to get a win away at Optus against North Melbourne. Just for the vibes of Harley Reid. That's the vibe we're going for. West Coast get the job done by 11 points. Port Adelaide take on the Sydney Swans at Adelaide Oval. Now, talk about a team with not a much... Fuck, let me start that again. Port Adelaide take on the Sydney Swans at Adelaide Oval. Now, talk about a team without any vibe at all heading into 2026. It's Port Adelaide. I have no idea where they're at. Aside from their star-studded midfield, I think they're pretty vulnerable defensively. And you take Mitch Georgiades out of that forward line, and I'm not really sure who you go to. Compared to the Swans, who have that electric midfield, they've added Charlie Curnow to the forward line. I think the Swans get this one done pretty comfortably. I'm going to back the Swans to get up by 6 goals. Richmond take on the Lions down in Tasmania. Absolutely rogue fixture. Brizzy drew with North down in Tassie last year, so that might play into the vibes a little bit, but let's be real. The Premiers are going to beat the team that finished second bottom last year, I think. So, easy one here. Brizzy get the job done by, let's go, 46 points. A bit of a pumping. Final game of the round is St Kilda taking on the GWS Giants. I'm going to back in the Saints. I reckon they're in for a big year this year. They're going to be rock solid defensively. They've got a lot of exciting young players. People, they talk about Nazaya, who is one of the better players in the comp, but they forget about guys like Darcy Wilson, who I think is poised for a massive breakout year in 2026. I'm going to say the Saints get the job done, but it won't be easy because it's never easy with Ross Lyon. They win by 9 points. Let's go with that. My name's Drewzy. Thanks for having me on, Pommy. Keep it locked to PommyInOz, one of the best in the game. Cheers, mate.
Thank you for getting me on, Pommy. Love the idea. Sounds really cool. So we've got round 15, and what we're doing here is we've got 3 away teams to predict, at least. It's chaos mode, I've been told, which I'm a fan of. It's a pretty cool idea, something unique. I don't know how many games there are actually for round 15 here, so do I be wise with who I pick for the away teams? I guess we're going to go on the spot. Fremantle, Geelong. Now, I mean, Geelong's probably a good, safe away team to go for starters, but I think Fremantle, they're going to be good this year. So I'll say Fremantle win this game, and we'll go by 4 goals. All right, Gold Coast Hawthorn. Oh, but again, this is one where I could see an away upset, but I don't actually know about Hawthorn this year. Will they be the sort of side to shake off Gold Coast at home? They're going to be unbeatable. We'll go a close game, though. We'll go 8 points. 7 games this round. Oh, I don't want to go Melbourne as you 8. I'm not going Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval. Melbourne are going to get thumped. They might make things okay. They might make things slightly competitive. It might not be a massive thumping. We'll be nice. We'll go 35 points. I would have started tipping some away teams here. Don't even know what the fixture's looking like. Oh, Carlton. I feel like Carlton can win in these sort of games. They're pretty okay against GWS in Sydney. Am I just saying that? I think I might just be saying that. Do we take the risk and just tip the last 3 games as the away ones, no matter what happens? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Blues are going to show much of a fight. I'm sorry, Pommy, I know you'll be watching this, but we'll go the Giants by 32 points. This is where we're going to have to get interesting. Now, Port Adelaide against Collingwood I could see something shake up a little bit here in terms of an upset. I know Port Adelaide against Collingwood last year didn't go their way, but they can do it. I don't think the Pies are going to have a massive year, and I think Port Adelaide with a bit of an easy start could be sort of around the mark. So we'll go Port Adelaide by 9 points. I'm hoping St Kilda aren't the bloody away team here. Richmond, North Melbourne. Kangaroos. They did it last year. You know, this is certainly realistic. The away team, they'll get the win by 19 points. And the next game is St Kilda, the Western Bulldogs. I'm doing the Saints an injustice here. What if this is the game that'll get us into like top 6 or something? And I have to tip the away team, that or what? I should have looked into the fixture before filming. Look, to be completely honest with you, we are terrible against the Bulldogs. No matter when we play them, where we on the ladder, we all seem to get thumped. So let's just be honest. Let's just be realistic. Let's just say we lose by 35 points. We have a one-off poor game, and that'll complete round 15. So couple buys, but the Dogs, well, they aren't on top. Don't know what the ladder's looking like, but those are my predictions. Thank you, Pommy, for getting me on, and looking forward to the video.
Hey Pommy, it's Damo from the Footy Mailbag here to tip round 16. You've told me I have to tip against my side, so I cannot tip the Freo Dockers. Only 7 games in round 16 as it is a bye round, but let's get going. Brisbane host Sydney. I'll tip Brisbane here in their quest for the three-peat. Stronger after the draft and trade period, should get business done at the business end of the season. Carlton against West Coast at Marvel Stadium. Who knows where West Coast is at this point? So I'll tip your mob in Carlton, Pommy, which should make you happy. Collingwood and Richmond at the MCG. Richmond are a fast developing side, and it wouldn't shock me if they knock off a few in games like this, but I'll go for Collingwood with all their experience. Hawthorn and GWS also at the MCG. I'm tipping an upset here. I'm going to go with the GWS Giants. I like their midfield setup with their strong defence and forward line. Think it will be a bit much for Hawthorn. I'm going with the GWS Giants here. We go to Marvel for Kangaroos and Bombers, arch rivals. Who better to show your improvement than knocking off your rivals here? I'll go with North Melbourne. I think they're moving in the right directions, and Bombers drafted really well, but I'm still not too sure about them. The showdown at Adelaide Oval, officially Port's home game, but that doesn't matter in crosstown rivalries. Josh Carr won't have any issues understanding the weight of these games thanks to his playing days. But I'm going to go with the Crows here. I think they are going to be too strong for Port in this game. And Fremantle host the Gold Coast Suns, searching for redemption after that elimination final. Shocker, I have to tip the Suns here. Stacked list, stars across the park. They could definitely repeat the elimination final efforts in round 16 here, but Fremantle won't make it easy.
All right, Pommy, let's do this. Round 17 of the 2026 AFL season. I'm going to tip every game here. Let's start with the first game that's listed. It's the Bombers in St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. I think by this point in the year, the Saints, they're smelling finals. They're right in the mix. and I think they will be winning this game by 28 points. Then Geelong, Brisbane at GMHBA Stadium. I mean, I'm very early prediction filming this in January, but I think this is a bit of a potential grand final rematch and grand final preview for 2026. I think both of these teams will be right there at the end of 2026, and it's at GMHBA. Don't know. I've got a feeling it's the Lions by a point in a thriller. So I'll go Brisbane. Then we go to People's First Stadium up on the Gold Coast. It's the Suns and the Pies. I think the Suns are going to be another team that's humming along at this point. I'm going to tip the Suns to win this game by 8 points. The Pies are traditionally a pretty good traveling side, so I'll give them a bit of respect there. But Gold Coast. Then, this is a great round. And I have to pick an upset. Well, I think the Lions won't be favourite. So how about that? The Lions won't be favourite. The Giants and the Dockers at Corroboree Group Oval in Canberra. This is a big road trip for Fremantle to make. I will tip the Giants here. I think they'll be too good. They'll win this game by 22 points. Then we go to Tasmania. UTAS Stadium. It's the Hawks and the D's. You know what? This is the one. I'm going to go the D's. And I'm going to go the D's to upset the Hawks. Early season predictions. They've already got injuries. Maybe the balance of the team is out of whack a little bit. Will Days come back? But, the team just isn't gelling at this point in the year. I'm going to go the D's to shock the Hawks in Tasmania. And they're going to win this game by 3 points. Then we go to the MCG for a rematch, Richmond and Carlton. I hope there's no backflips here from the Richmond Footy Club, but I'm going to go the Blues to win this game by 28 points. I think the Tigers by the end of 2026 might start showing some good signs, but I think the Blues will be too good here. Then we go to the SCG for a Coleman medal shootout between Charlie Curnow and Sam Darcy. Oh, this will be fantastic. I can see this being a game where I think the Dogs will... I don't know why I think this, but I think the Dogs will be leading this game at halftime by 4 or 5 goals. And then I think the Swans win this game by 18 points. I don't know why. I just have this instinct. So the Swans win this game by 18. Then we go to Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide and North Melbourne. You know what? I'm going to go the Roos. By the end of 2026, surely North Melbourne start rising and start showing some potential to push for the finals. Maybe not this year, but in the years to come. I think it'll all start clicking for them. They'll be hardened and battle-tested. And I'll go the Roos to beat the Power at Adelaide Oval. It looks like it's going to be a Sunday afternoon game slot. So the Roos to win this game by 11 points. And then finally, Optus Stadium. Looks like this will be the graveyard shift. West Coast and the Crows. Riley Thilthorpe, I think he'll kick 8 in this game. And the Crows will win this by 42 points. So there's my tips for round 17, 2026.
Hey, it's MJ from the Coaches Panel. We're an AFL fantasy and a SuperCoach podcast. We'd love for you to join our fantasy football and SuperCoach community, if indeed that is your type of thing. But today, looking at round 18, a difficult week of tipping, but I think I'm going to be able to help us navigate through it. Brisbane Lions take on the Bombers up in Brisbane at the Gabba. And for me, this may just be one of the big victories of the round from a points and a margin perspective. I've got the Lions absolutely pantsing the Bombers in this one. I think it's going to be a 46-point margin. The Blues take on the Hawks at the MCG. I think it's the only match at the G for the entirety of the round. Now, I think it's going to be closer. The Blues, I think, are going to be better than people recognise this year. Hawks, I think, come back to the pack a little bit, and yet I still have them just getting over the line by under 2 goals, an 11-point margin. I got the Hawks getting it done in this game. We head to Marvel Stadium. It is the Pies taking on North, and I think the North, it feels like, as I say it now, it's a surprise, but I think as the year goes deep, North are going to surprise some people. Collingwood are going to slide a little bit. I've got North Melbourne at Marvel by a 13-point margin, getting it done. Harry Sheasel for a big 140-plus score in AFL Fantasy and Supercoach. Just an extra little tip to go in there for you as well. NG Stadium, the Giants and the Cats. I think this one's going to be a close one. Not the closest to the round, but a close one. A 9-point victory to the Giants. Just that forward line and that newly developed midfield, I think, is going to get it done for them. St Kilda versus Port Adelaide. Port are going to be competitive this year, but I just think St Kilda are going to be too good in this match. A 23-point victory to them. The biggest winning margin of the round is going to come in the Dogs versus the Eagles, also at Marvel Stadium. I don't think the Eagles, you'll be able to tell me, I think they're getting worse, not better. Time will tell if I look like an idiot. I probably do. Who cares? 52 points. I think it's going to be a massive margin for the Dogs, and it really is the percentage boost they're going to need to keep themselves in the finals conversation. For the final two tips for the round, the Crows taking on the Suns at Adelaide Oval, probably one of the big games of this round with two teams that are hopefully deep in the finals race, but certainly at the start of the season believe they will be. I've got the Crows just sneaking over the line by the 15-point margin. Maybe a bit of a Riley Thilthorpe dominance game is what I'm hoping for anyway. And then the last game that I want to tip for this round is the Swans and the Dockers over in Western Australia at Optus Stadium. And I think the Dockers in an absolute nail-biter, like a goal in the last minute or two will define this game. I think the Dockers win this by 4 points. And so that is my tips for round 18 for the 2026 AFL season.
Pommy, thanks for having me back on the channel. Super excited for this one. I have been given the task of picking the fixtures for round 19. And I've got to be honest, mate, the fact that you gave me round 19, I saw myself as a bit more of a round 5 guy. I feel like this is the equivalent of putting me up in deep in the bleachers on the MCG. I'm sitting in row 87, seat 312, and I can't see a thing. These games, we don't even have the night that the game is being played. We just get the fixtures. So it's a difficult one, but we're starting with Carlton and Collingwood, which will be no doubt at the MCG. It's a blockbuster game, but I don't like what I'm seeing from the Carlton Blues this offseason. I know they've made a host of changes to the list that I think in the long term will improve them, and they're starting to bring those younger players through, but watching some of their clips at training, I did the task of putting together their best 23 the other day, and there's a lack of quality in that team overall. So I think Carlton could be pushing here bottom 4. I think the Pies, although they're aging, will easily accommodate for Carlton in this one. I've got them winning by 32 points in a blockbuster fixture. Then we've got Essendon and the Giants at Marvel Stadium, which is anything but a blockbuster fixture. This one's going to be boring as hell. And I've got the Giants being too mature, too strong for the young Essendon team. 57 points. The Giants are going to win this one by. Geelong versus St Kilda at GMHBA. This is tricky because you've got St Kilda who have got a lot of talent in that squad. I think they're one of the teams that could have a lot of breakout contenders, the Matthias Philippous, the Marcus Windhagers, the Hugo Garcias, the Darcy Wilsons. All of these players could go to another level in 2026. And you've got Geelong who are just consistently so strong, and it's at GMHBA, which wants me to lean Geelong, but I do feel like the Saints have a sneaky good record against the Cats and could win this one in a blockbuster by 3 points as they start to gel together as a unit a little bit more. Then you've got the Suns versus the Dogs up at People First Stadium. I almost don't think the Suns should ever lose again at People First Stadium. They've got such a good record up there. The team keeps getting stronger. The fact that they already had such a talented list and they've been able to bring in Christian Petrarca, Jamari Ugle-Hagan, Zeke Euland, Dylan Patterson. It's pretty much like you've given the Predator a bunch of new weapons to just go on a killing spree. And that's what the Suns are going to do in 2026. I think they'll take down the Dogs here in a reasonably close one. The Dogs also have a talented list, but I've got them winning by 15 points overall. And as I said, they should never lose again at People First Stadium. North Melbourne and the D's at Marvel Stadium. Another absolute stinker. This one's no doubt going to be on a Sunday afternoon. And I think these two teams are kind of converging on each other a little bit. North are kind of slowly getting up the ladder while Melbourne are slowly going down, getting into that rebuild. Melbourne do have a lot of good youth, but I think North's at this point is just a little bit too strong for them. So I think the dominance of Tristan Sherry, we saw it against Melbourne last year. North will win and bash them up at the centre stoppages, 21 points. Richmond versus Hawthorn at the G. Two big traditional rivals of Melbourne, but as much as I do buy into the Ferrari hype of the Richmond young players, the Sam Lawlers, the Sam Cumming, the Sam Grill, I love all of those Sams. I think Hawthorn are going to be too mature, too strong for this young Richmond team. The way that Hawthorn can move the ball off the back half is probably better than any other team in the competition. Their kickers are unbelievable. So 45 points to Hawthorn. The only question for them across the season will be, what can they do without Will Day? I think they need some breakout contenders. A Josh Weddle and Nick Watson needs to become a bigger influence this year. Sydney Swans versus Adelaide, a resurgent Sydney Swans team with Charlie Curnow leading the line. I've got them winning at home here against a strong Adelaide side by 18 points. And then Port and Freo at Adelaide Oval. Now, this Port Adelaide team on paper looks absolutely stinky. So it automatically wants me to tip Fremantle, but it is a difficult place to go, to travel to Adelaide Oval. We know Freo aren't the best travelling team overall, but they are building something. I think this kind of is the year for Freo, so expect pretty big things from them. I've got them winning this one in a tight one, given the Adelaide Oval influence. 7 points to the Dockers. I think their young, talented mids will be too strong. And then we've got West Coast versus Brisbane, which is an all-time stinker and really encapsulates this overall round 19 fixture here. I actually thought most of these games are pretty easy to tip, to be honest. West Coast versus Brisbane, it is over in Perth. And it actually gives me memories back to the early 2000s when Brisbane had that unbelievably strong dynasty team and West Coast were that up-and-coming team. And they started to actually be the first team that really knocked the Brisbane Lions off their perch. Chris Judd was coming through, Daniel Kerr, Ben Cousins, all of those kind of players for West Coast. Started something. And that's where you got the glimpses that they were amazing. But that is not what's going to happen here. I don't think this West Coast team is anywhere near as good as that one. Brisbane Lions by 71 points. Pommy, thank you once again for having me on. I'll see you next time.
G'day guys, hope you're well. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Now the Great Pom has allocated me round 20, which I don't think is going to be an overly difficult round to tip. However, I do expect there to be a couple of close matchups. So let's crack straight into it. We are starting off the Gabba where my boys Lions take on Port Adelaide. No surprises here. I think Lions can get the job done. Hopefully at this stage, really fine-tuning our game, ramping things up, preparing for finals. So I'm tipping Brisbane by 35 points. We then travel down to Marvel Stadium where Carlton host the Gold Coast Suns. Now, even though the Blues have the home ground advantage here, I don't think that's going to be enough. I'm expecting Gold Coast to be a top 4 side this year as opposed to Carlton being a bottom 8 side. Sorry, Pom. You know that I love you, mate. But given that fact, I'm tipping the Suns by 25 points. We then head up to New South Wales for the old Battle of the Bridge, now officially referred to as the Sydney Derby. Now, I think this result is going to hinge on the performance of two players. If Heaney kicks 3+, I think Sydney gets the chocolates. If Green kicks 3+ for the Giants, I think they get up. It takes me back to that 2021 elimination final where only 1 point separated these two sides. I'm actually going with the same margin, but this time the result is going to be flipped around, Sydney by 1 point. We then head down to the home of football at the MCG, and could we see a bit of a watered-down Aldi version of the line in the sand game? We know what happened in the off-season. I really want to see some fireworks. I'm not inciting violence, but surely we all like just a little bit of argy-bargy. I think both teams are really going to get up for this game. It's going to be a close one, probably closer than other people expect. I'm going with the Hawks by 10 points. Time to go back to Marvel where North take on the Saints. I think both teams should look to move up the ladder slightly this year. However, this could be the Naz show. Wouldn't it be great to see Naz and Sheezel just go head-to-head, two young guns? But I can't go past the Saints here. I'm going to give them the chocolates by 19 points. On to Melbourne and Geelong. Now, if this was a Geelong home game, I think it could be a bit of a blowout. However, at the MCG, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. So I'm going the Cats by 30 points, 5 goals. Now, this is a game where I think that we could see a blowout. The Dogs will have a lot on the line at this stage, really pushing to be in that top 10. The Tigers, on the other hand, may have some sore bodies with their younger brigade. So I'm going the Dogs by 87 points here. And SuperCoach tip, make sure that you've got Marcus Bontempelli and Sam Darcy in your side because they should go absolutely bananas. Now, this next one could potentially be the game of the round, probably competing with the Sydney Derby. We've got the Crom taking on Collingwood. We all know the history with these two sides, particularly recently with Mr. Isaac Rankin. In saying that, I think that Rankin could have a really big one here, get his team home. So I'm tipping the Crom by 9 points. And that leads us into our next game, another rivalry match. We've got Freo taking on West Coast. Remember back to Andrew Gaffin, Andy Brayshaw. There is a lot of history when it comes to these two sides, but at the end of the day, I think Freo are going to be too strong. Again, closer than expected because we know that both sides always get up for it. Freo by about 20 points. Now, this is where we come to the cards that I have been dealt. I've been given the flip card, which means I need to change one of my tips. Now, it could be that GWS Sydney matchup, just flip it the other way and go, I'll point to GWS, but I don't really want to do that. Could it be Essendon really getting up for that game, getting behind their ex-captain and knocking over the Hawks? I'm not going to go there. Do you know what I'm going to do? Because I've got so much love for my mate Pom, I'm going to change my Carlton Gold Coast tip right around and say that the Blues are going to win by 4 goals themselves. So there you go, Pommy. My flip is going to be Carlton beating Gold Coast by 24 points. So thanks again, guys. Good luck with your tips. Let's see how I go.
All right, hello everyone. It is Jesse from True Footy, and I have been tasked with what I think is a very doable task in trying to tip round 21 of the 2026 AFL season on January 20th. I feel remarkably confident considering how far away it is, and I have got to tip 3 away teams minimum, as I understand the expectation on me here. So I'm going to start with Carlton versus Brisbane. Of course, we don't know which is going to be the first game of the round yet. It hasn't been fixtured. I think this is an easy one, sorry Pommy, to say this will be my first away winner. The Brisbane Lions should beat Carlton at Marvel Stadium, and I will say it could even be maybe 27 points. I was going to go a little bit harsher. Collingwood v Geelong at the MCG. Now, this is a tricky one. Does this count as an away game for Geelong? I do expect the Pies will be a decent team in 2026, but I don't think they'll be quite on Geelong's level. That does not mean Geelong will win this game. I'm not sure if that counts as a genuine away team. The Cats will win this by 11 points. So then we move to Essendon v Adelaide, and I feel like there's been at least 1 or 2 thrillers between these two sides at this ground. It is round 21 though. I feel like last year, was it Rochelle who kicked a late goal to win? Round 21, I feel like Essendon routinely slump. Like they usually, they might start the year well and then falter towards the end of the season, whereas I expect Adelaide at this stage to be gearing up for a finals campaign. I'm going to say Adelaide win this by 62 points. Fremantle against the Bulldogs. This will be a great game. I think they play twice in 2026, so this will be the second game. But I just think of the amazing round 24 clash between them. This time, I think Fremantle will beat them again at Optus Stadium. It'll be a close one, but I'll tip the Dockers by 8 points. Gold Coast in Melbourne should be very simple, in my opinion. Gold Coast should slaughter Melbourne, I reckon. Gold Coast, led by Petrarca, win that game by 53 points. Hawthorn v North Melbourne is also potentially ugly. North Melbourne being a young side late in seasons. They don't play Hawthorn well in Tassie. Will Day will be back by then. I'll say they'll win this by 75 points. Port Adelaide versus GWS is a tricky one. I think that the Power are an unknown quantity. I guess so are the Giants, but certainly Port Adelaide. There's a lot of negativity around them. With the looming question of Zach Butters leaving, but also just their inactivity in the last few off seasons, other than losing Dan Houston. That being said, I don't think they'll be terrible. The Giants should win this though. They should. I don't know what sort of narrative will be happening this time of year. I will say the Giants win this by 18 points. Now the game you're all been waiting for is Richmond versus West Coast at the MCG. This actually was a really good game last year, where a diving tackle by Tom Brown saved it for Richmond. They won by 2 points, I think, in the end. It's really hard to tell out of the younger sides who's going to be travelling better or worse by round 21 of this season. Both sides will be vulnerable. I think I'll just go the home side here in Richmond. I can't back West Coast to win that one as much as I would love to. I expect Richmond will win this game by 25 points. So at this stage, I think I have 2 away wins. St Kilda then hosts Sydney at Marvel Stadium. I've boxed myself into a corner because I don't know what to expect for St Kilda, but I am pretty confident Sydney's going to be a good side. I still think, genuinely, St Kilda at Marvel Stadium are not a simple opposition for even good sides. Ask Geelong. but I have to tip Sydney here to make my third interstate side, assuming we don't include the Geelong one. But I'm happy with it. I think Sydney should be a premiership contender. Sydney will win this game by 11 points.
Hey PommyInOz viewers, my name's OnlyCarlton. Hope you guys are doing well. These are my underdogs for round 22. First off, we've got Essendon against Geelong. I'm tipping Essendon. Just a D1 Geelong hater, if I'm being honest. Andrew Macca, is that even his name? Their list manager. He's an op. He can get it. I think Essendon will get it done. Geelong always lose a game in GMHBA for some reason. They always just lose one there that they just shouldn't. So I think the Bombers will get it done. I think Liam McMahon will have a day out. You know, Zach Merritt, forbidden name, but he'll have a day out as well. The ground suits him over there. So I reckon Essendon by, we'll say 25 points. 25 points. It won't even be a close game. I think they'll be in control all game. So yeah, and also I'm just praying on Geelong's downfall. Next up, we have Port versus Sydney at the SCG. You might sense a little bit of a trend here. I'm picking Port for the upset at the SCG. You know, boohoo, Charlie Kerner's not all what he lived up to be 22 weeks into the season and he's been underperforming. That's going to be the narrative coming in. But they call me Mystic OnlyCarlton. So I think Port will get it done. It'll be a massive upset at the SCG, especially late in the year. If they push him for like that top 10, top 8 position, it might really screw him over. So I think Port get it done by, let's say, 3 points. They love stealing games, Port. Corey Durden will have a day out. You know, shout out my boy Corey Durden. I think he'll have 3 or 4 goals. Yeah. I don't like Sydney. Charlie Kerner, you're right. And my last upset of the round is North Melbourne versus the Bulldogs. Wait, hang on. Let me just... There we go. Much better. I'm picking North to upset the Doggies. Again, the Doggies are a team that'll probably be pushing for top 8, top 10 towards the end of the year as well. So, look, North are going to get it done. Never been more confident in my life. Cam Zurhaar is going to kick 5 goals because Cam Zurhaar, for some reason, is the greatest AFL player of all time. So, Toby Pinkson will lock up Sam Darcy as well. That's another prediction I have. All of this is going to come true. You're gonna be watching this back and be like, man, only Carlton knows this stuff. So, yeah, I'm picking North to get it done by 1 point. It's going to be the King of Marvel's going to return. All right, Cam Zurhaar, he owns that ground. So those are my underdogs for round 22. Hope you guys enjoyed me talking shit. All of this is going to come true. It's not even predictions. All of this is just like a done deal pretty much. So, yeah. One more thing, shout out Jesse Motlop, free Jesse Motlop 2027 legacy season.
Hello, Pommy and Pommy fans. I hope you're all doing super well. I've been summoned by the great man to help out with some tipping, prefacing this by saying I'm notoriously shocking at tipping, so that bodes well for me. But anyway, the great man has given me round 23 to tip, so you would think there'll be some finals ramifications and some teams fighting for that top 8, and no, I won't call it the top 10. So hopefully a good round of tipping. All right, first up we have Brisbane versus Suns up at the Gabba. I think Big Brother gets the chocolates on this one. Not by much though. I think the Suns this year are going to sit firmly in that top 4, but I do think Brisbane get this one. I'm going to say 18 points. The next game is my Bombers against Sydney, and I've been told I have to tip against Essendon here. So unfortunately, this game is at the MCG, and the last time we played the Swans there was 2022, and it was a great game and we had a good win. So unfortunately, though, it is the Swans. Let's go by 1 and hope I'm wrong. Next up, we have the Giants v the Eagles, and I have the Giants on the precipice of that top 8, 10 of playing finals. So I think the Giants will want a huge win from this, and I think they'll flex their muscles and win by 77. Next up, Hawthorn v Collingwood at the MCG. This is going to be a great game. Look, I think Hawthorn will be firmly entrenched in the 8, 10, but Collingwood is probably fighting for a spot. I'm going to give Collingwood the win here. Something in me just can't write them off for this year. I think they have way too much high-end talent on their list, and I'm going to give the chocolates to Collingwood in this battle. 2 points, maybe. I've tried to pick a smoky for this round, and this is my one smoky for the round. It is North Melbourne against the Cats at Marvel Stadium. I'm going to give the Kangaroos the win here in a thriller to the death by 11 points. I think the Marvel could get the Cats, and they possibly could be on top of the ladder at this point and not give too much of a shit about the game, with respect, of course. Next up, we have Richmond v St Kilda at the MCG. I know Richmond play brilliantly at the MCG, but again, I think St Kilda will be fighting for a final spot. So I think they're going to want to really show that they can play well at the MCG and not just at Marvel. I think they're going to win this by 34 points. Next up, it is the Dogs against Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Well, you're obviously losing this by 150, aren't you? No, I'm kidding. But I do think the Bulldogs are going to win. We've been on the backside of so many Dogs demolishments at Marvel, and I just think they're going to be way too good. That midfield is elite and is made for Marvel Stadium. So I think this will be a 55-point win to the Dogs. Next, it's Port Adelaide against Melbourne up at Adelaide Oval. I think these teams probably finish around each other on the ladder, so there won't be any kind of finals push there, but I think the home ground advantage is everything here. So I'm giving Port Adelaide the win. And finally, it is Fremantle versus Adelaide at Optus Stadium in Perth. I definitely think Freo gets this game. I think Adelaide are definitely going to play finals, but I think Freo's going to be way too good and won't want to be dropping a game this close to finals, which I think they will be playing too. All right, there's a high chance I got 1, max 2 right in that, but we'll wait and see. Hope you're all well. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
The round 24 tips. This is going to decide the ladder at the end of the year. It is going to kick some teams out of the wildcard game and shake up what should hopefully be an epic final series. Here are my tips. Beginning with Collingwood and Brisbane. Would promise in the preseason to be one of the better games of the year, but I think Brisbane are going to put a massive exclamation point on a fantastic third year of maybe a three-peat, but definitely a contendership run. I'm going to take the Lions. Carlton versus Freo. Freo got no qualms against playing at Marvel Stadium unless it's against Ross Lyon. I think they get the job done here over the Blues in pretty convincing fashion. But where I'm going to go a little bit rogue here is Essendon and Port Adelaide. Could we get a draw come the end of the year? The Bombers might have some things to prove because they should hopefully be healthier than they are at the end of last year. Port Adelaide are a massive wild card for me this year, so I'm not really sure where they're going to be at, although their Marvel Stadium record is outstanding. I'm thinking I want to go rogue and pick a draw here. Think Geelong smack the Tigers. How nice it must be to get a really good round 24 game every single season. I'm not going to lie to you. The Gold Coast Suns get the job done over the Saints. What kind of year are the Saints going to have? One of the biggest mysteries this season. Depending on what's on the line for the Bulldogs, the Demons might get them in the run home, but considering how young the Demons are they going to be out of fuel by the time this game begins? It's going to be hard to tell, but I am going to take the Bulldogs, and maybe that does secure a top 6 spot. We'll wait and see. The Swans smash the Kangas. The Hawks should hopefully get the Chocolates over the Eagles, and the last game on my list here promises to be a bit of a belter. Adelaide and the Giants. This could be either one of the earliest games of the year to decide a top 4 spot, or could be one of the later games as the makeup of the ladder gets shaken about a bit. I am going to take the Crows, though. I think people are a little bit down on the Crows. I'm not as high on the Giants as some other people are, and I think the Crows can get it done at home with hopefully a higher scoring game than we saw in 2025. That was rough to watch.
So this is what we've got. Now, the first one we're doing is vibes only I've drawn, and I'm going to do the wild card round. So I drew the vibes only, so let's do that. Hawthorn versus the Dogs. Now, I would say the vibe here, in my personal opinion, having the Dogs finishing so strong, 13-10 as 7, Hawthorn being the 10th side, it's got to be the Hawks. It's got to be the Hawks. That would be the vibe, wouldn't it? The AFL would be validated. Everyone thinks these wildcard games are pathetic. I'm going to tip them. And then Geelong St Kilda. This is really intriguing because my brain is telling me Geelong. And I think if I'm doing vibes, I'm wrong. I've got to tip the least likely favourites. So as much as St Kilda have maybe aggravated me in the off-season, I'm going to go the Saints. So the second card I rolled, now usually it's 3 away teams, but I've got to pick one away team in these games, right? So we'll start with qualifying final 1 that the beautiful YouTube scene has given me. I'm going to go Brisbane. I'm going to go Brisbane winning the qualifying final 1, right? Qualifying time final 2, Sydney. So there's my away one. Adelaide versus Hawks. Now, I kind of agree with the YouTubers. I think Adelaide are going to buck the trend in this eliminator. They're going to come through, win their final. Nixie's going to be happy. They'll have ranking this time, hopefully. And that will be it. And Fremantle St Kilda. Ross' dream ends to his old club. Fremantle get the game. Now, this makes the semi-finals really exciting. So the semi-finals here, right? I picked firstly, believe it or not, they pick against my team. Guess where Carlton are? They're 12th. So that's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is, to make it fair, is everyone knows my second team is Adelaide, even though you shouldn't have second teams. So I will tip against my Crows on this one. I do think the Crows win that one. Gold Coast versus Fremantle. I'm going to say the Gold Coast Suns in this one. So the prelim finals, we're at there. And this one here is I've got to go the underdog, right? So I've got to pick one underdog. Brisbane beat the Suns. I am confident of that. And the underdog here, I'm going to go with the Giants. I think the Giants will be the underdogs, given what the YouTubers gave us. That was it. And finishing off with this, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put it down to you in the comments section. I personally think GWS win this one. So that would be the big turnaround. Clayton Oliver straightens them up. He shocks the world. My heart wants Brisbane to do it, though. I want them to have that big, big milestone. 3 in a row. The big daddies of it. So I want you to have the deciding vote. I'm going to say I'm going to go with my heart, Brisbane. But my brain is telling me the Giants win that one. Let me know in the comments what you guys and girls think. Again, if you've got this far in the video, thank you so much. Loads of work went into this. Trying to get 23 people all condensed to get a video to do it is really hard. I love and appreciate you loads. We are now in the first week of February, which means there's going to be a shitload of live content coming up. So make sure you drop a like. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really does help the channel out. See you in the next one. Have a great rest of your weekend. Pommy out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.